In the north of the village stretched a forest so dark and dense that people called it the Dark Woods. The very name was enough to fill hearts with fear. The elders of the village used to say that light itself died the moment it stepped into that forest. The trees were so thick that even sunlight got lost among them. The air always felt heavy, as if the breaths of some ancient century were trapped within it. People had heard strange and eerie tales about this forest. It was said that at night, the laughter of a woman echoed there, a laughter that sounded neither entirely human nor completely unearthly. Some even swore they had seen her shadow moving among the trees. But no one ever dared to find out who that woman was or why she wandered there. For years, the villagers had made it a rule to lock their doors before sunset. Children were strictly forbidden even to look toward the forest. But every forbidden thing plants a seed of defiance in human hearts. And that defiance one day awoke inside two friends, Rehan and Aqib. Rehan was known as the bravest among the young men of the village. He loved to mock anyone who showed fear. Aqib, on the other hand, was gentle and thoughtful, the complete opposite of his friend. The two had been friends since childhood, bound by loyalty, but divided by nature that one stormy night, when the wind was howling and thunder rumbled across the sky. The two sat by a fire in their courtyard. Rehan picked up a stone, threw it away, and laughed. Man, these stories are just tales made up by old people. Do you really think ghosts live in some forest? Aqib replied softly. Rehan, do you remember Kashif? Last year he went to cut wood near that forest and never came back. Rehan chuckled. Maybe he went off to another village. People scare themselves for no reason. I say we go there tomorrow night and see for ourselves. Aqib stared at him, startled. Are you crazy? People don't go there even in daylight. And you're talking about going at night? A stubborn glint lit up in Rehan's eyes. Just once. We'll only take a look. If something really is there, we'll see it. And if not, we'll expose the village's superstitions. Aqib was silent for a long while. Then he spoke in a low voice. All right, but we'll only look. We won't touch or disturb anything. Rehan laughed loudly. Deal. The next day, neither of them spoke a word about their plan. But as evening fell, both felt an uneasy pull, as if the forest itself was calling them. When night came, the moon hid behind clouds, and silence wrapped the village. Only the barking of dogs and the whisper of the wind filled the air. Carrying a lantern, Rehan and Aqib quietly walked toward the northern edge of the village. Dry leaves crackled under their feet. Aqib's heart was pounding, but Rehan walked calmly ahead. As they reached the mouth of the forest, the air grew damp like it was about to rain. A faint stench lingered in the wind. The tree trunks were thick and uneven, and the darkness between them looked like spilled ink. Aqib raised the lantern and whispered, Rehan, I don't like this place. Even the wind seems to stop here. Rehan grinned. Don't be a coward. We're only at the edge. Maybe there's just an old shrine or grave inside. That's why people get scared. They took a few steps further. The lantern's glow fell on the roots of the trees, where strange symbols were carved into the ground. Circles, blackened by something once burned inside them. Rehan said, looks like some old fakir or sorcerer used to come here. That's probably why people avoid it. Aqib's voice trembled. Let's go back. I don't like this feeling. And then, from somewhere deep within the forest, came a woman's laughter. Low, heavy, chilling. Dee. It sliced through the darkness and crept into their ears like a whisper from another world. Rehan froze. Aqib's face turned pale. Rehan murmured, whose voice was that? Aqib's lips shook. I've heard people talk about that laughter. It's her. The wind suddenly grew wild. Branches cracked. The lantern flickered violently. Rehan said firmly, enough. I'm going to see what it is. I'm not turning back now. Aqib grabbed his hand, but Rehan shook it off. His shadow moved forward into the blackness. And then, far ahead in the forest, Aqib saw a red flicker, like a light glowing inside a window. From that direction came the same voice again. Come. And that was the moment when the dark woods stepped forever into their lives. That night was not silent. It was filled with a strange, restless sound. The wind whispered through the trees like sighs of warning, as if nature itself was trying to tell them to turn back. Aqib kept glancing behind him, but Rehan walked forward as if under some unseen spell. His pace quickened, like an invisible force was pulling him ahead. There was no fear left on Rehan's face, only a grim curiosity. Aqib's breath was unsteady, but deep down he knew that if he ran away now and left Rehan alone, he might never see his friend again. So he kept following him into the darkness. After a few minutes, the forest began to change. The tree trunks grew thicker and darker. The ground was bare, no grass, only damp soil and carpets of dead leaves. The air carried a faint, decaying scent, as if a lamp once lit there centuries ago had gone out, but left its ghost behind. And then Aqib saw it, a flicker of red light in the distance, like a glow coming from inside a hut. Rehan quickened his steps and said, "See, I told you there was something here." Aqib whispered, "This light doesn't feel right." Rehan, for God's sake, stop. But Rehan didn't stop. He walked toward the light. Moments later, they stood before an old, crumbling mansion. Vines covered its doors. Half the roof had collapsed, yet from its broken windows a dim red glow shimmered. A storm of fear rose inside Aqib. Aqib's chest. He said in a trembling voice, "This mansion has been abandoned for years. How can there be light inside?" Rehan touched the door. The wood was so cold it felt like it had been buried in ice for centuries. "No worries," he said. "Maybe a traveler or a fakir has taken shelter here." Aqib tried to stop him, but Rehan pushed the door open. It creaked with a long, shrill sound. "Sicharo!" A gust of freezing air rushed out, and their lantern flickered out for a second. When it came back to life, they saw a wide, empty hall before them. Old portraits hung on the walls, covered in dust. Paint peeled off in places, revealing dark, damp patches beneath. At the center of the hall stood a large mirror. Its frame was made of black wood, and fine cracks ran across the glass, as if someone had struck it with a fist long ago. Rehan stepped closer. What an old mirror! It must have been here for centuries. Aqib backed away. "Don't touch it. Who knows whose it is?" Rehan laughed. "Coward. It's just a mirror, not a ghost." He wiped the dust off with his hand, and the moment he did, something moved inside the glass. Rehan froze. Behind his reflection, another shadow appeared. A woman's silhouette. She had long hair, her face blurred, but her eyes glowed red like burning coals. Rehan stepped back, then looked again. The mirror was normal. No shadow. Aqib whispered, trembling, "Rehan, let's get out of here. Now." But Rehan didn't seem to hear him. His eyes were fixed on the mirror. Slowly, he raised his hand toward it, and as soon as his finger touched the glass, the surface rippled like water, and a cold, black mist began to seep out. The air grew heavy. The lantern went out. Darkness swallowed the hall, and in that darkness, a soft, eerie voice spoke. "Why did you wake me?" Rehan tried to step back, but his feet were rooted to the floor. With a violent gust of wind, the woman emerged from the mirror. Her face was blackened, her eyes red, her hair unbound, and on her lips, that same dreadful smile. Rehan's voice caught in his throat. Who are you?" She stepped closer, her hair trailing across the floor, her voice echoing as if from the depths of a well. "I am the one, your elders buried alive. I am Zaria, the guardian of this forest, and now you will become part of me." Rehan tried to scream, but no sound came out. Aqib grabbed the lantern and ran to the door, but it was locked tight. He banged on it desperately, and when he turned one last time, he saw Rehan trembling, his eyes blank, and Zaria wrapping herself around him like a shadow. Then came a scream, "Hey!" and everything fell silent. Moments later, the door creaked open by itself. Aqib fell to the ground, gasping for breath, and somehow stumbled his way out of the forest. The clouds had cleared, and the moon shone bright. But under its light, a faint red glint shimmered in Aqib's eyes. as if Zaria's shadow had followed him out. When the dim light of morning fell over the village rooftops, Aqib was found at the edge of the forest, half conscious. His clothes were torn, his face caked with dirt, and his eyes looked as if he had just woken from a nightmare. The villagers were astonished that he had survived. People gathered around him. The elders asked, "Where's Rehan, son? You two went together, didn't you?" Aqib's lips trembled. He didn't speak. He just stared at the ground. Then suddenly his breathing grew rapid, and he screamed. The mirror. There was a woman in it. She took Rehan. The villagers exchanged fearful glances. Someone whispered the name. Zaria. It was the same name the village elders had long forgotten. Centuries ago, a woman named Zaria had lived here. She knew magic but misused her powers. The people captured her and eventually buried her alive inside a mansion in the forest. But as she died, she cursed, "I will never die. Whoever disturbs my rest will become mine." And now, centuries later, her sleep had been disturbed once again. Aqib could not speak for days. He stayed awake at night, sometimes screaming, sometimes whispering that someone was behind him. The elders performed prayers and rituals to help him, but nothing worked. Then, one night, when the entire village was silent, Aqib heard a knock at the door. Top, top, top. His heart almost stopped. He slowly rose and went toward the door. Outside, it was dark, but a faint reddish glow flickered. In a trembling voice, he asked, "Who is it?" The reply came, "It's me, Rehan." Aqib's soul shivered. He opened the door. Rehan stood there, but not as he remembered him. His eyes were red, his face pale, and a cold smile rested on his lips. Rehan said, "I'm back, Aqib. You left me alone, didn't you?" Aqib stepped back. "Rehan, are you alive?" Rehan laughed softly. "Alive? Yes, but you won't understand. She is with me forever." With that, he slowly stepped into the room. A cold gust of wind blew, and the lamp went out. Aqib saw the woman standing behind Rehan, Zaria, her face hidden in a haze, her eyes glowing like embers. Rehan's lips moved, but the voice that came out was hers. "I warned you. Whoever wakes me will never rest." Zaria placed her hand on Rehan's shoulder. Smoke began rising from his body, and in the next moment, he collapsed to the floor, lifeless as stone. Aqib screamed in terror and ran out of the house. The whole village woke to his cries. People ran toward his home, but when they arrived, the house was empty. No Aqib, no Rehan, no trace of anyone. Only a mirror lay on the floor, and in it, a shadow flickered like two faces, one Rehan, one Aqib. After that night, the villagers decided they would never go near the dark woods again. Anyone who approached the mansion would say the same thing. At dusk, somewhere among the trees, a woman's laughter echoes. And after the laughter, sometimes two male voices whisper, "Come, Aqib." "Yes, Rehan, let's see what's inside." And then silence falls. Scroll lesson. Some doors are meant to remain closed. Those who open them out of curiosity invite only darkness into their lives. If you also remember a mysterious story from your city, village, or childhood, write in the comments. Maybe the next story will be yours. If you enjoyed this story, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so that when the next chilling night comes, you'll hear it first. The whispers of darkness are never empty.